So today we're taking a look at this tiny little lens which comes at a very affordable price point and also will make you experience photography in a whole new way. So this is the 35mm f1.4 from TTArtisan, and I can already tell you that's one of the main selling points, the 1.4 aperture, which is really wide and many photographers want that. The other selling point is it costs 80 bucks. Yeah, a 1.4 aperture lens that costs under $100. Well, I mean, I could just wrap it up here and now and tell you, go ahead and buy it. It will probably be one of your best purchases in a while, but I'm not gonna do that. Let's see if it's worth it at even that price point. And surprisingly enough, the first thing we notice is that the build quality is actually extremely good. I'll show you more close-ups back in the studio, but it feels great in hand.
So I'd like to take a moment to just show you a bit the box, because I think it's worth mentioning, and I think it's even better looking than some of the main manufacturers out there, you know, like Canon, Nikon, Fuji. This kind of looks like a collectible item, and it has some pretty nice packaging. As you can see, it's a very small and compact little lens, but it has some weight to it because it's all metal and glass. It weighs 180 grams. It comes in silver and black, and one really cool thing about this lens is that you can find it with 6 different mounts. The Nikon Z mount, the L mount, the Canon M mount, the M43 mount, Sony E, and finally this one, the Fuji X mount. The lens cap is a metal one, but it's a screw-on cap, which is a pretty unusual thing to see on a lens, and it's not the most practical one, I guess, and people have been complaining about it. But it's nice to see that TTArtisan was listening and taking feedback, because now they have included a little plastic clip-on as well. It's a regular one, although it does feel pretty plasticky. At least now you have options. And also they include a pretty nice and small lens hood, which is metal, I believe. They also include a little lens cleaning cloth, which is a pretty nice touch. The filter thread size is a bit weird. It's 39, and I personally don't have step up or step down rings which would match this size, so it might prove a bit challenging of finding filters for your lens. And that is because the lens has this cone shape, which is pretty unusual as well, but doesn't look bad at all. So let's talk about the rings now. We have the aperture ring, which doesn't feel bad at all. As you can see, the aperture jumps from 8 to 16 directly, so you don't have as many stops as you usually do with most lenses. And then we have the focus ring, and this is a reversed order compared to most lenses out there, but once you get used to it, it's not an issue. Also, for the lens to work with your camera at all, you need to turn on in your menu the shoot without lens option, because remember, this lens doesn't have any electrical contacts. And also for Fuji, you can manually set and save the focal length of the lens that you are using, and you will have this in the future as well. Also guys, I'd like to thank you so much. We've recently hit 400 subscribers, and that is a lot to me. And still, most viewers are not subscribers yet, so if you'd like to show some support, you only need to click those like and subscribe buttons.
Now, of course, I'm still testing this lens, so if I notice anything while I'm reviewing the photos back at home, I will definitely edit that into the video, so no worries about that. But what I would like to talk about is sharpness, because at this price point and with this aperture, that might be a concern, and rightly so. but this lens is capable of sharpness actually.
With a few caveats, you can't really expect it to be sharp at 1.4, but once you step down a bit, it gets pretty sharp, I'd say. And here we can compare how it looks like at different apertures, but in most cases and in everyday life, I would say this is plenty sharp, you won't have any issues with that. Testing for lens flare, we do find some colorful ones and a bit of loss of contrast. Stopping down at f16, we do get a beautiful star-shaped sun, but also the lens flare is still present. What we can notice from this footage is that the focus pulling is pretty smooth, I'd say. The IBIS from the X-T4 works well with this lens, and also that there isn't that much lens bleeding either.
This lens has 10 aperture blades, which should translate into a beautiful bokeh with round bokeh balls. It also has an incredibly shallow depth of field, which is kind of what you want when you get this lens, right? But it also kind of makes it difficult to nail focus sometimes. And the minimum focus distance for this is 28 centimeters.
I also have to mention that there is some chromatic aberration, but it's pretty easily fixed in post.
It's usually not an easy thing to achieve for a crop sensor camera, you know, this level of bokeh or shallow depth of field, and this is a strength of this lens. But this also brings me to the less strengthy points of this lens. This is a manual focus only, and so it's not for everyone, obviously. There are many people who never manually focused in their lives and don't plan to start doing it now. I myself don't have a lot of experience with manual focus, but it can be an enjoyable process, a more hands-on process of photography. Another thing to keep in mind is that you don't have that many options out there if you want to achieve this kind of shallow depth of field. I'm using it on Fuji, and for Fuji at least you have some options like the 35 1.4, 35 2.0, which doesn't have such shallow depth of field, of course, and the 33 millimeters, which was recently released, the 33 1.4. And obviously they do come with extra features to the table, like autofocus for once, and weather resistance for the last two at least, but the price tags are between $500 and $800, and that is quite literally 10 times the price of this lens. So you have to ask yourself, is it worth it, that 10 times the price of this lens, to basically achieve kind of similar results, in my opinion? And another mention is that none of them have optical image stabilization or anything like that, but admittedly it is pretty rare to find prime lenses with OIS, and also the Fuji X-T4 has IBIS, so not really an issue. And I gotta say, it just matches Fujifilm's aspect and design so well. It's got this vintage retro look that Fujifilm of course is known for, and it matches it perfectly. It also makes it light and compact, which isn't the case for all mirrorless lenses, you know, even though they are known for that. it's not really the case all the time. And I can just see, you know, people taking this lens with their camera body out on nice evening walks and enjoying the photography of it, because obviously it will slow you down a bit. It's just manually focusing, yeah, but maybe that's a good thing sometimes. Maybe we want that, or we should want that, to take a moment, take a breather, think about what you are photographing, think about what's your composition, your frame, where you are focusing and all that. So yeah, I think this lens definitely has its time and place. Also, I want to thank TTArtisan. This is not a paid review, however, they did send this lens for free to me in order to test it. But of course, all the facts and opinions in this video are all mine, and they didn't have any input on that. And besides that, I want to throw in one last test. This, basically, filming yourself, basically a headshot video filmed with a manually focused lens at 1.4. Is it even possible? Will you be out of focus all the time? Well, you tell me, and I apologize in advance if I am out of focus, but this is the best I could do. Conclusion time. Do I recommend this lens? Well, at 1/10 of the price for the newest Fuji equivalent? Absolutely. And even regardless of the price, you get a beautifully made, solid piece of glass and metal, which has character, beautiful bokeh, and even sharpness in the right conditions. It's not for everyone, of course. It has flaws, for some people more than for others. But I'm really glad this exists, and I can see myself using it sometimes. So yeah, I think that's the sum of what I can personally say about it. If I left out anything from this video, please feel free to let me know in the comments below, or if you want to know other facts about it, for me to perform some tests, sure, why not? Put that down in the comments as well. Till next time, thanks for watching.